The chapel was silent, except for the air system clicking on. I had my hand on my husband's sleeve when his phone rang loud, bright, wrong for a funeral. The sound cut through the pastor's prayer like metal on glass. I felt my fingers tighten in the wool of my husband's jacket. He went still, not startled, frozen. The phone buzzed again in his pocket, vibrating against my knuckles as if it wanted to be seen. I looked down before he could stop me. The screen lit up between us, angled just enough. A woman's name I didn't recognize. 3 red hearts beside it. The kind people use when they don't expect witnesses. No one coughed. No one shifted in their seat. The front row went quiet in that sharp, alert way people get when something breaks protocol. The pastor paused, mouth still open, eyes flicking toward the sound. Everyone saw the name before he turned the screen away. My husband finally moved, pressing the phone flat against his thigh like he could smother it. Too late. I had already counted 3 rings. Long ones. Confident ones. The red folder tab I'd been holding, service program tucked inside, bent under my grip. I focused on my breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. 4 counts. The way I'd learned to steady myself before board meetings, before donor calls, before difficult conversations I always hoped someone else would handle. He leaned close and whispered, "It's nothing. Please." The word please landed wrong. Too practiced. Too fast. The phone stopped ringing. Silence rushed back in, heavier than before. The pastor cleared his throat and resumed, his voice softer now, cautious, like he wasn't sure where to look. I stared straight ahead at the closed casket. Polished wood, silver handles, the smell of lilies and lemon cleaner. This was supposed to be the end of something, a clean line. My husband's knee bounced once, twice. He slid the phone deeper into his pocket, thumb rubbing the edge like a habit. I noticed how he didn't turn it off. That was when curiosity tipped into dread. After the final amen, people stood, chairs scraped. Someone squeezed my shoulder, my best friend, I thought, though I didn't look. I was counting my breaths again, slow and deliberate, the way you do when you don't trust your voice. We moved with the crowd toward the aisle. My husband stayed half a step ahead of me, creating space without saying it. Control through distance. I recognized the move even before I had a name for it. At the back of the chapel, sunlight cut through the open doors. The funeral director murmured directions. Cars would line up for the graveside. A neighbor leaned in and asked if I was okay. "I'm fine," I said, because that's what people say when there's no room for truth. Outside, my husband pulled his phone out again. He didn't look at me. His thumb hovered, then tapped. The screen dimmed. "Who was that?" I asked. He exhaled, slow, like I was the problem he had to manage. "Laura, not now." My name sounded like a warning. He walked toward the parking lot without waiting for me. I watched the back of his suit jacket catch the light, watched the phone imprint fade from the fabric. I noticed how his shoulders didn't sag with grief. They stayed squared, alert. At the graveside, the phone buzzed again. This time, he silenced it faster. Too fast. I didn't ask again. I memorized the time instead, 10:47 a.m., and the way his jaw tightened when the vibration stopped. I knew then this hadn't started today. People murmured behind us. The church elder avoided my eyes. The red folder tab pressed into my palm, a small, sharp edge I welcomed, something solid, something I could hold. When the service ended, my husband said he needed the restroom. He left his phone in the car. It buzzed on the console. Once. Then again. I didn't touch it. I just watched the screen light up, the same name flashing back at me, confident as ever. And this time, I saw the timestamp. The screen lit again, and I didn't blink. My husband's phone sat in the center console like a small bomb. Black case, smudged glass. It buzzed twice, then went still. I kept my hands in my lap, fingers curled around the red folder tab until it creased. The cemetery parking lot was a slow crawl of cars. People hugged, exchanged casseroles they'd brought in foil pans, said the same soft lines. I heard my name once, then a quick hush. The kind that happens when someone decides you're fragile. I checked my own phone for the time. 11:06 a.m. I was supposed to be at the nonprofit office by 1, a donor call at 1:30. I could already picture my inbox stacking up, uncaring and bright. My husband came back from the building, wiping his hands on a paper towel. He slid into the driver's seat and started the car. "You okay?" he asked, not looking at me. It wasn't concern. It was a test. "I'm tired," I said. He nodded once, satisfied, and pulled out of the lot. The phone buzzed again. He snatched it up so fast his wedding band clicked the screen. He didn't answer. He swiped something, then set it face down in the cup holder like a finished conversation. "Who is she?" I asked, calm as I could manage. His jaw flexed. "Laura, please. Today isn't about us." That line was a leash. "Don't ruin this. Don't be that wife." I counted my breaths, the way I always did in boardrooms. 4 in, 4 out. My stomach stayed tight anyway. We drove in silence through the suburbs, past a Walgreens, a strip mall with a nail salon, the same corner where I always stopped for iced coffee after early meetings. My husband took the long route, the one with fewer lights. Control loves empty roads. At a red light, he reached for the phone again and held it low. His thumb moved in quick taps. Delete, hide, smooth the surface. I watched the tendons in his hand stand out. "You're doing something," I said. He laughed, once, sharp. "I'm handling my phone." The laugh landed like an insult. I swallowed it. Not because I agreed, because I didn't trust what would come out if I opened my mouth wide enough. When we got home, he parked too close to the garage door. He always did that when he wanted to block me in, habit disguised as accident. Inside, the house smelled like the candle I'd left burning before the funeral. Vanilla and smoke. My heels clicked across the tile. I set the red folder tab on the kitchen table corner and stared at it like it could answer me. He loosened his tie, tossed his keys into the bowl and said, "I need a shower." He carried his phone with him. That was my first clear fact of the day. He shut the bedroom door. The shower turned on. Water hammered the tile. Loud enough to cover a ringtone. Loud enough to cover a conversation. I moved without thinking. His suit jacket lay over the back of a dining chair. I slid my hand into the inner pocket. My fingers brushed a lint roller, a pen, and then warm glass. He'd left the phone behind. My pulse jumped hard, like it hit a wall. I lifted the phone out and held it in both hands. The screen was locked. Face ID, passcode. I didn't have it, but the notification preview was still on. A missed call. Same name. Same hearts. And beneath it, small gray text. 10:47 a.m., the time I'd memorized at the graveside. I tilted the phone closer, blocking glare from the window. Another missed call from the same contact. 10:44 a.m., then 10:32 a.m. 3 calls within 15 minutes, during prayer and dirt and condolences. 3 rings weren't an accident. They were a pattern. The shower kept running. I could hear him humming, faint and careless, like the world was still stable. I swiped down again. More missed calls. Earlier that morning, 6:12 a.m. My husband had been getting gas then. He'd been gone 20 minutes. I'd been packing funeral clothes on the bed, smoothing black fabric, trying not to cry. I wasn't smart enough to unlock his phone, but I was smart enough to document what I could see. I grabbed my own phone off the counter. My hands shook. I took a photo of the lock screen, close enough to catch the timestamps. I took another when the screen dimmed, then a third after it lit again. Click, click, click. The shower stopped. I set his phone back exactly where I'd found it. Warm glass, same angle, same smudge on the corner. I slid the suit jacket over it, hiding the glow. I stepped away and pretended to read the mail on the counter. Grocery coupons, a utility bill, a thin envelope from the funeral home with an itemized balance that made my throat tighten. $2,860, due in 10 days. Money always shows up when grief does. My husband walked out, towel around his waist, hair wet. He saw me by the counter and smiled like nothing had shifted. "You hungry?" he asked. I nodded because my mouth felt unsafe. He leaned in and kissed my forehead, light and practiced. Then his eyes flicked to the dining chair for half a second. Checking. I looked down, counting breaths again, and thought about how many times a person has to call before it becomes a signal. My phone vibrated in my hand. A new notification popped up from an unknown number 1 line, bold as a slap. "He didn't tell you, did he?" I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. The kitchen was too bright for how I felt. Afternoon sun hit the counter, picked up every crumb I'd missed. I kept my phone in my palm like it was hot. The unknown number sat there, clean and unreadable. "He didn't tell you, did he?" My husband opened the fridge and stared inside like answers lived behind the milk. He pulled out leftover pasta, shut the door, and didn't look at me once. I slid the funeral home envelope closer with my elbow. The itemized balance showed through the paper. $2,860. Due in 10 days. I pressed my thumb along the edge until it whitened. Grief was expensive, and secrets always cost more. I have that donor call at 1:30, I said. He nodded. Go do your thing. My thing. Like my life was a hobby. He set the pasta in the microwave and hit 2. The machine beeped. He watched it spin. He didn't touch his phone. I typed back with one finger. Tell me what? 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. The microwave beeped. My husband ate standing up, fork tapping ceramic, eyes fixed on the counter like he was rehearsing a normal afternoon. My phone buzzed. Ask him why he pays for a second line. I felt it in my ribs, sharp and immediate. Not a theory. Not a vibe. A concrete claim. I glanced at my husband's pockets. His phone wasn't in either. That meant it was somewhere in the house. He tossed the plate into the sink. We still have the reception tonight, he said. 4 o'clock. Gianni's patio. Reception. Witnesses. Food laid out like an offering. People pretending they weren't hungry for gossip. I nodded. Slow. I remember. Which this is Mandarin. He kissed my cheek and walked past me toward the bedroom. A towel hung over his shoulder like he was heading for the gym. As soon as the door shut, I moved. Not running. Not sneaking. Just walking with purpose. The phone was on the nightstand charger, face up. The screen lit when I lifted it, and my stomach tightened at the same name with the hearts. No new call. But the notifications were still stacked. 6:12 a.m., 10:32 a.m., 10:44 a.m., 10:327 a.m. 4 times. 4 touch. A cluster that looked like a habit. I raised my own phone and took another picture. Then one more. Closer, so the times were crisp. I didn't need his passcode to see the pattern. I just needed him to keep being careless. I put his phone back exactly where it was. Same angle, same cable loop. The red folder tab from the service program sat on my dresser, and I realized I'd carried it home without thinking. I picked it up and smoothed the bent edge with my thumbnail, counting breaths. 4 in, 4 out. My laptop was open on the kitchen table corner. I sat down and logged into our bank account, fingers stiff. The balance looked normal. The transactions looked normal. Grocery store, gas station, a charge for flowers. Normal can be camouflage. I clicked into the phone bill next, the one I paid every month on autopay. I knew the password because I'd set it years ago, a habit of mine. I don't like being locked out of things. The overview loaded. 2 lines. My throat went tight. Line 1, my number. Line 2, a number I didn't recognize. I didn't need a detective kit. I didn't need spyware. I needed my own hands. And the fact that he'd let me handle the boring stuff. I clicked usage, calls, texts, timestamps. The same number showed up over and over, always in short bursts. Early mornings, middays, late nights when I'd been asleep with a book on my chest. I scrolled until my finger cramped. The times matched the lock screen calls like they were synced. I sat back hard in the chair. The kitchen table corner dug into my forearm. My heart kept trying to sprint while my body stayed still. I texted the unknown number again. Who are you? 3 dots. A pause. Then, you're going to let him humiliate you at Gianni's. I stared at that word humiliate because it wasn't a guess. It was a promise. Footsteps in the hall. My husband's. I snapped the laptop shut and slid the funeral home envelope on top of it. I stood and started rinsing the pasta bowl like I'd been doing chores the whole time. Water ran. Soap foamed. My hands shook under the faucet. He leaned on the doorframe, freshly dressed, hair combed. You ready? Yeah, I said, just finishing up. He watched me for a second too long. Then his eyes drifted to my phone on the counter. Don't start anything today, he said quietly. There it was. Control with a soft voice. I dried my hands on the dish towel, folded it once, then twice, counting breaths again, like it was the only thing I owned. We left the house at 3:38 p.m. The sky was bright and wrong. My husband drove with one hand on the wheel, one hand hovering near his pocket like he expected another ring. At a stoplight, my phone buzzed again. A new message from the unknown number. Check his pocket for the SIM sleeve labeled CRH. I have it. The parking lot at Gianni's was already half full. At 4:02, Gianni's patio felt like a stage. I handed the hostess our name, and she slid 2 black wristbands across the stand. My husband looped his on without looking at it. I held mine a second longer, like I could feel whether tonight was going to cut. The patio smelled like marinara and whetstone. Heat rose off the concrete. A long table held iced tea dispensers, stacks of paper plates, and a framed photo from the memorial, someone's idea of comfort. My husband's phone stayed quiet in his pocket. That scared me more than the ringing. My best friend, Nina, hurried over in a black dress she'd worn to 3 funerals already. She squeezed my hands and searched my face. "You doing okay?" she asked. "I'm functioning," I said. Behind her, my coworker Jordan waved from the bar rail, still wearing his work badge like he'd forgotten it was there. My neighbor Marcy stood near the dessert tray, eyes sharp, pretending she wasn't collecting information. My husband moved through them like he was made for this. He shook hands, he patted shoulders, he said the right lines with the right pauses. Grief as performance. I counted my breaths and kept my smile small. Then Nina leaned close, voice low. People heard the ringtone. Azraeli 9 at Azender. I felt my stomach drop, slow and heavy. "I know. Laura," she whispered. "They're talking like you're unstable." That word landed like a bruise. Unstable. The easy label, the one that makes a woman's evidence sound like noise. My husband stepped in, arm sliding around my waist, grip a little too firm. "She's exhausted," he said, smiling at Nina. "It's been a hard day. Control. Dressed as care." I nodded like I agreed. Nina's eyes flicked to my husband's pocket, then back to me. I could feel the humiliation warming up around us. We took a table near the patio railing. I set the red folder tab on the table beside my water glass, smoothing the bent edge with my thumbnail. The plastic caught the light like a warning. My husband's knee bounced under the table. "What's CRH?" I asked softly, keeping my tone flat. He blinked once. "What?" I lifted my phone and glanced at the unknown number's last message, then put it face down. "Just asking." His smile tightened. "Not here." 2 women from church approached. One of them glanced at my husband's phone like she expected it to ring again, then looked away too quickly. My husband leaned in, lips close to my ear. "Don't start anything today." There it was again. Soft voice, hard leash. I pushed my chair back and stood. Restroom. He started to rise with me. I put a hand on his shoulder. "I'll be 2 minutes." In the restroom, the air smelled like citrus cleaner and hot hand dryers. I locked myself into a stall, sat down with my knees pressed together, and opened our bank app. My hands shook, but the numbers didn't. I tapped transactions. Then deposits. A line caught my eye, dated Friday, labeled Direct DAP. The total was normal. The split was not. $2,050 into our joint account. $1,362.18 sent out the same minute, marked External Transfer, CRH. I stared at the letters until they blurred. I scrolled down. Another paycheck. Same pattern. Same 2 amounts shifting slightly, like someone had calibrated the theft to look like budgeting. My throat went tight. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a system. I took a screenshot, then another, capturing the split line and the CRH label. My phone made that tiny camera click sound I'd forgotten was on. I held my breath, listening for footsteps, then forced myself to exhale. 4 counts in, 4 out. Back on the patio, the noise hit me like a wave fork scraping, ice clinking, laughter that didn't belong at a funeral reception. My husband was standing near the bar rail with Marcy and the church elder, Mr. Dorsey. His phone was in his hand now, screen angled away from everyone. He saw me and slid it into his pocket fast. Jordan stepped in my path, uneasy. "Laura, are you okay?" "Like, really?" I nodded. "I'm fine." Jordan glanced past me. "He's telling people you're spiraling." End quote. My ears rang. "He said that?" Jordan's face went pale. He said, "You know, that you're seeing things." I walked toward my husband, slow, controlled. The red folder tab was still on our table, and I picked it up like a handle, like proof I could hold. My husband turned as I approached, smile already loaded. Marcy's eyes brightened. Mr. Dorsey folded his hands and watched like a judge. I stopped 2 feet from my husband. "We need to talk." Everyone. He chuckled, small and dismissive, and looked at the group instead of me. She's overreacting, he said, voice easy. This is why people don't trust her. He said it loud enough for them to believe him. The patio went quiet in pockets. Not fully silent, just attentive. My face stayed still. My hands didn't. I set the red folder tab on the bar rail and pressed my palm flat beside it, grounding myself on the cool metal. Say it once more. On record. My husband's smile twitched. Laura, who is CRH? I asked, clearly. Marcy's mouth tightened. Mr. Dorsey's eyes narrowed. Nina appeared at my shoulder like she'd been summoned. My husband's phone vibrated in his pocket. He reached for it, and as he pulled it out, a second notification flashed across the screen, white text on black. External transfer, CRH, $1,362.18 pending. I snapped a photo before he could hide it. My husband's phone was in his hand, half turned away. The patio light caught the screen for one clean second. White text on black. External transfer, CRH, $1,362.18 pending. I lifted my own phone like I was checking the time. My thumb hit the camera button. No flash. No sound this time. Just proof in my pocket. My husband saw the movement anyway. His smile tightened at the corners. Laura, he said, low. Put that away. Marcy's eyes flicked between us like she was watching tennis. Mister. Dorsey shifted his weight, hands clasped, face set in that church elder calm that always felt like judgment. Nina didn't move. She stood beside me, shoulder close enough to steady me. My husband angled his body, trying to block the view. It's work, he said to the group, like he was closing a door. Payroll stuff. I didn't look at them. I looked at him. Show me the account, I said. He gave a small laugh, the same dismissive sound he'd used in the kitchen earlier. Not here, and with Mal. Then we leave, I said. He leaned in, close enough that his cologne hit my throat. Don't do this in front of people. You already did, I said, and I kept my voice flat. You said people don't trust me. That made Marcy inhale, quick. Mr. Dorsey's eyes narrowed, like the words had weight now. My husband's thumb slid across his screen. Delete, dismiss, control. Then he shoved the phone back into his pocket and grabbed my elbow. His grip was firm. Not bruising, just claiming. I lifted my water glass with my free hand and took a slow sip. Cold. Bitter lemon. My hand didn't shake. 4 breaths in, 4 out. Laura, Nina whispered. Let's go. We walked out without goodbye hugs, without the dessert tray, without pretending. My heels clicked across the parking lot. The sky was still bright, and the light made everything feel exposed. In the car, my husband didn't start the engine right away. He just sat there, hands at 10 and 2, staring straight ahead like he was waiting for me to apologize. I don't know what you think you saw, he said. I turned my head and watched him carefully. I saw the transfer. It's a business account, he said. It's nothing. That word again. Nothing. The lie people use when they want you to feel foolish for asking. He finally drove, taking the long route again, the one with no traffic lights and nowhere to pull over, the one that made the conversation his. I opened my phone and looked at the photo I'd taken. The notification was crisp. The amount was crisp. The letters, CRH, sat there like initials carved into wood. My husband glanced at my phone, and his voice went sharper. Stop, he said. You're spiraling. Spiraling. The label Jordan had warned me about. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just watched the speedometer climb to 52 inches a 35 and noted how his right hand hovered near his pocket the whole drive, guarding the phone like a wound. When we got home, it was 5:28 p.m. I knew because the oven clock blinked 5:28 like it had been waiting all day to tell the truth. My husband went straight to the bedroom and shut the door. I heard a drawer slide, a soft clink. Then the shower turned on again, loud and steady. I walked to the kitchen table corner and set the red folder tab down like a marker. I pulled my laptop out from under the funeral home envelope and opened it. The itemized balance stared back at me when the envelope slipped. $2,860. Due in 10 days. I logged into the bank. Transactions loaded in a clean list. Grocery store. Gas. Flowers. Then the split deposits, staring like a crack in a wall. Deposit, $2,050. External transfer. 1,360 și 2,18 arash. I clicked back 3 months. Same pattern. Different amounts by a few dollars, like someone was keeping it under my radar. I hit print. The printer in the hallway whirred, slow and stubborn. I stood over it and caught each page as it came out, warm and ink-heavy. I stacked them on the counter and tapped the edges until they aligned. Then I slid the stack into a manila folder and tucked the red tab over the corner. My hands moved like I'd done this 100 times, because in my job, paperwork was how you proved you existed. Money has a rhythm, and he'd been changing mine. My phone buzzed again. Not the unknown number this time. Renee, my cousin. Attorney Renee. The one who always returned calls even when she was in court. I didn't remember dialing her. My call log showed I had, though. 6 minutes ago. My hands had done it while my mind was still catching up. I answered. "Tell me exactly what you saw," Renee said. "No, hello." Straight to control. I sat at the kitchen table corner, papers under my palms, and told her the funeral ring, the hearts, the transfer name, the amount, the way he'd told people not to trust me. Renee went quiet for a beat. Then, "Do not confront him tonight." "He already did," I said. "I mean with evidence in your hand," she replied. "You gather, you document, you don't give him a chance to scrub it. If we know..." I looked at the stack of printed statements. "What is CRH?" "It's either a person," she said, "or a shell. Either way, it's traceable." The shower stopped. Footsteps upstairs. Renee's voice stayed steady. "Email yourself those screenshots. Print anything you can. And Laura, if he tries to paint you as unstable, you stay calm and let documents speak." I swallowed, tasting lemon from the water still on my tongue. "Okay." I clicked back into the transfer line and hit details. The page loaded slowly, 1 bar at a time, like it was deciding whether I deserved it. The recipient field populated last, and the name wasn't a person at all. It read, CRH Consulting LLC. I paid $3.50 to see what CRH really meant. I sat at the kitchen table corner with my laptop open. The printed statements were stacked under my left hand, edges tapped straight. The red folder tab poked out like a warning flag. Renee stayed on speaker. I could hear traffic behind her. A turn signal clicking. Court day noise. "Go to the state business registry," she said. "Search the LLC name." I typed CRH Consulting LLC into the search bar. My fingers felt stiff, like they belonged to someone else. A list loaded with 1 hit. Formation date. Status, active. I clicked the company name. A new page opened with a small button. View filings. Another. Annual report PDF, $3.50. I swallowed and clicked pay. My card number auto-filled. Of course it did. I'd built my life on autopay and trust. The PDF downloaded with a soft thunk. I opened it and leaned closer. The registry page had my full legal name. I didn't blink at first. I just stared until my eyes stung. Managing member. Laura M. Hart. Address. My address. Email. A Gmail I'd never seen. My breath caught halfway in. I forced it out through my nose, slow. 4 counts, then another 4. Renee's voice sharpened. "What do you see?" "My name," I said. My tongue felt thick. "They listed me as the managing member." "That's not casual," she replied. Scroll. I dragged the page down with 2 fingers. Registered agent. Carmen R. Hollis. A phone number beneath it. A clean, professional line. Carmen. The woman on my husband's lock screen. The 3 hearts. The phone glow from the funeral flashed in my head. Bright and ugly. Not romance. Not just betrayal. A paper trail. I could feel heat climb my neck, but my hands stayed cold. I grabbed the printed bank statements and pulled them closer, matching the transfer label to the LLC name like I was aligning puzzle pieces. C.R. Hay, Carmen R. Hollis. Renee inhaled once. Take screenshots. Print the PDF. Save it twice. I hit print. The hallway printer whirred, slow and stubborn. I walked to it and caught the pages as they came out, warm and slightly curled. I stacked them, smoothing each sheet with my palm. Formation date. 8. Over 17 my signature. Not mine. At the bottom of the annual report was a signature block. A scanned signature that looked like my hand on a tired day. The kind of stroke you make when you're rushing through forms you don't even care about. Except I hadn't signed anything. I touched the ink with my fingertip like it might smear and confess. It didn't. I heard the upstairs door open. Footsteps on the stairs. Heavier than before. My husband came down with his phone in his hand. Screen dark. He stopped when he saw the papers spread across the table. "What is this?" he asked. I didn't raise my voice. I slid the LLC printout toward him across the table, slow, like a dealer pushing a card. "That's CRH, I said. "It's a company. Carmen's company." His eyes moved fast, scanning, then freezing on my name. His face changed in a small, sharp way like he'd been slapped and was deciding whether to cry or hit back. He looked up. "Why is your name on there?" I let the silence sit between us for a beat, my nails pressed into the red folder tab. "Because you put it there," I said. He scoffed, loud enough to sound convincing. "You're accusing me now?" "I'm reading," I said, and my voice stayed flat. "Managing member, my address, your transfers." He stepped closer, palms open like he was the reasonable one. "Laura, you set up donations, vendors, spreadsheets. You sign things. You forget." That was the move. Defame. Blur. Make my competence the weapon. I stood up, chair legs scraping. The sound cut through the kitchen like the funeral ringtone had. "Don't use my name again," I said. His jaw tightened, his eyes flicked to the stack of bank statements, then to my phone on the table. He reached for the LLC printout. I snatched it back and held it against my chest. He leaned in, voice low. "If you take this to anyone, you'll look insane." I felt my stomach twist, but I kept breathing in counts of 4. I could hear Renee faintly through the speaker, saying my name once, warning me without words. My husband's phone lit up in his hand. The screen glow painted his knuckles blue. A contact name flashed across it. Carmen Hollis. He turned the screen away too late. I saw it anyway. He declined the call with a quick thumb, like swatting a fly. I picked up my phone, opened my messages, and tapped the unknown number. My hands were steady now. "Are you Carmen Hollis?" I typed. 3 dots appeared instantly. Then a reply came through, clean and final. "Yes." A second bubble followed right behind it. "Audio message 037." Carmen's voice shook for 37 seconds. I stood at the kitchen table corner and hit play. My thumb hovered like it might save me. Her audio came through thin and breathy, like she was in a car. "Laura, I'm not trying to hurt you." A hard swallow. "He said you knew. He said you signed." Another breath. "That LLC, he told me it was to protect money. Yours. His." I didn't understand it at first. I felt my mouth go dry. "He's been moving deposits," she continued, faster now. "He told me you were unstable, that you'd twist it, but you deserve to know he put your name on it. He said it makes it clean. Clean. Like theft could be laundered by a wife's identity." I pressed my fingertips into the red folder tab until my nail beds hurt. 4 breaths in, 4 out. Carmen's voice dropped. "I left something for you. Your mailbox. Sealed. Don't open it there. Please." A pause then. "He watches everything." The audio ended. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked. I didn't look toward the stairs. I slid my phone face down on the table, then stacked the LLC printout on top of the bank statements. I tapped the edges straight, like paper could hold my hands steady. My husband came down in sweatpants, hair damp again, phone in his fist. He saw the folder. "What are you doing?" he asked. I kept my voice even, printing my own name. He scoffed. "You're spiraling again." "Say it once more," I said, quiet. "On record." His nostrils flared. He glanced at my phone, then at the printer tray where I'd left it open on purpose. Control hates open exits. He moved closer, lowering his voice like that made it kinder. "You're embarrassing yourself." "That's your favorite line now," I said. He reached for the manila folder. I pulled it back and held it against my chest. The red tab caught under my palm. The plastic edge cut lightly into my skin. My husband's smile flashed thin. Warning. "Give me that." "No," I said. One word, a boundary that felt new in my mouth. He stopped smiling. "You think some woman can message you and you'll destroy us?" "Us?" I asked, and my laugh came out dry. "You built a company in my name. He spread his hands. "Laura, you sign things. You forget." I stared at him. Then I did the one thing he didn't expect. I nodded like I believed him. His shoulders eased a fraction, relief sneaking in. Then I picked up my phone and quietly sent Carmen's audio to my email. Subject line, Carmen Audio 037. My husband watched my hands. "Who are you texting?" "No one," I said. And I meant it in a different way. I wasn't texting. I was preserving. I walked to the sink and ran water, loud. I rinsed a fork that didn't need rinsing. My hands moved. My mind counted breaths. 4 in, 4 out. He drifted toward the hallway like he was deciding whether to grab his keys, whether to follow, whether to block the garage again. "I'm going to pick up a coffee," I said, casual. "I need air," he snorted. "At 6 at night?" "It's been a day," I said. He hesitated. That was my opening. I grabbed my purse from the hook by the door. I didn't look at his face. I didn't ask permission. I walked outside like I still owned my own steps. The air was cooler than the patio had been. Streetlights weren't on yet, but the sky was fading. I crossed the driveway and opened the mailbox with one sharp pull. A sealed envelope sat inside, heavier than junk mail. Off-white paper, no return address printed, just my name, typed clean. And in the corner, an embossed stamp pressed into the paper. Hollis and Green, PLLC. My throat tightened on Carmen's last line. "Don't open it there." I shut the mailbox and tucked the envelope against my ribs, hiding it under my cardigan. I walked back inside without rushing. My husband was in the living room, phone to his ear, voice low. He stopped talking when he saw me. I didn't acknowledge him. I went straight to the kitchen table corner and slid the envelope under the manila folder, red tab covering the edge like a lid. My phone buzzed once, Renee. I answered with my eyes on the stamp. "I have it," I said. Renee's voice sharpened immediately. "Don't open it alone." "I'm not," I lied. Upstairs, my husband's footsteps started again, slow and deliberate. He was coming toward the kitchen. I picked up the envelope, pressed my thumb under the flap, and broke the seal. Inside was a clear plastic SIM sleeve, and the label read, CRH. The SIM sleeve felt heavier than it should. I stood at the kitchen table corner with it pinched tight. Clear plastic, one tiny card inside. The label CRH in black ink. My thumb slid over the edge, testing the seal. My husband stopped in the doorway like he'd hit a wall. His eyes went straight to my hands. "What is that?" he asked. "A question you didn't answer," I said. He took a step closer. "Give it to me." I didn't move. I kept counting breaths. 4 in, 4 out. My heart tried to outpace the math. He reached for the sleeve. I lifted it higher, out of his range, and held it flat against my chest. The plastic crinkled, loud in the quiet kitchen. "Don't," I said. He stared at me like I'd changed languages. "You're acting crazy." There it was again. Same word, same tactic. Moral accusation with a clean face. I set the sleeve down on the manila folder and placed my palm over it. I didn't squeeze. I just covered it, like a hand over a candle flame. "Say it once more," I said. "On record." His mouth opened, then closed. He glanced at my phone. He glanced at the folder. His eyes flicked to the printer tray like he was measuring what I'd already pulled out of him. Then he did something different. He smiled. Not warm, not loving, just calculated. "Laura," he said softly, "you're grieving. You're tired. You don't know what you're doing." He started toward the counter where the funeral home envelope sat, half hidden under my laptop. He picked it up and tapped the paper like it proved his point. "Look at this," he said. $2,800 due. You're worried about money. That's why you're seeing patterns." I watched him use the bill like a weapon, a real number to cover a worse one. I slid the manila folder toward me, slow. The red folder tab scraped the table, making a thin sound. I kept the SIM sleeve under my hand. "I'm not seeing patterns," I said. "I'm seeing your transfers." His smile twitched. "You're going to ruin us." "You already did," I said. He leaned in, voice low. "If you call anyone, you'll regret it." This claff. That wasn't grief. That wasn't fear. That was control. I looked at his face and tried to find the man I married. The one who used to bring me iced coffee after my early shifts. The one who used to squeeze my hand at red lights. I didn't find him. I found someone who'd learned how to win, so I did the one thing he couldn't stop. I picked up my phone and called Renee again. He heard the name on the first ring. His eyes narrowed. He stepped back like he'd been burned. Renee answered fast. "Where are you?" "In my kitchen," I said. "He's here." "Put me on speaker," she said. I did, and my husband's posture shifted instantly. He hated witnesses with credentials. Renee's voice came out crisp. "Sir, do not touch her documents." My husband laughed like she'd made a joke. "This is a family matter." "It's an identity matter," Renee said, "and it becomes criminal if you interfere." Silence settled in the room, thick as wet cloth. My husband's jaw worked once. He looked at the SIM sleeve like it was a loaded gun. Renee continued, "Laura, take the sleeve and the folder. Leave the house." My husband snapped, "You're not taking anything." I didn't argue. I just moved. I slid the SIM sleeve into the inner pocket of my cardigan. I tucked the manila folder under my arm, red tab facing out. I grabbed my keys from the bowl by the door. My husband stepped into my path, shoulders squared, blocking, the same way he'd parked too close to the garage door. I stopped and stared at him. Renee's voice cut through the speaker. "Move. Now." My husband hesitated, the smallest crack in his certainty. He shifted just enough. I walked past him without touching him. My shoes hit the porch steps hard. The air outside was colder than I expected, and it made me feel awake. I drove to the only place I could think clearly, my usual coffee stop on Maple. Same fluorescent lights, same burnt smell, same cashier who always asked if I wanted a receipt. It was 6:41 p.m. The register screen glowed bright. I bought a small black coffee I didn't want, just to justify being there. $2.18. In the car, I opened the manila folder on my lap. Papers, screenshots, the LLC filing. Carmen's audio printed into my email like a trail. Then I pulled out the SIM sleeve. There was a second label stuck behind it, small and easy to miss. White sticker, black numbers. The police station lobby smelled like stale coffee and bleach. The fluorescent lights made everyone look tired. A TV in the corner played a muted weather report. I kept my car keys looped around one finger, the manila folder pressed tight under my arm, red tab facing out. Renee met me under the "no cell phones" sign. She wore a navy blazer and the same flat expression she used in court. She took one look at my hands and nodded toward the front desk. "Breathe," she said. 4 counts. I did it. In, out. My throat still felt raw. A man in a delivery uniform stood near the metal detector. 2 teenagers sat against the wall, knees bouncing. A woman with mascara streaks clutched a paper cup and stared at the floor. I wasn't special here. That helped. We walked up to the front desk window. Thick glass, a slot at the bottom, a bell no one used because the officer could see everything. The desk officer looked up. His nameplate read, "Patel." "What can I do for you?" he asked, voice neutral. Renee slid her bar card under the glass like a badge. "Identity theft. Unauthorized financial transfers. We need an incident report." Officer Patel's eyes flicked to me. "Ma'am, is this your complaint?" I nodded. The manila folder felt heavy and warm, like it had a pulse. I slid the first printout through the slot. Bank statement, highlighted line, external transfer, CRH, Consulting LLC. Then the LLC filing. My name listed as managing member. The scanned signature. Then the photo of my husband's lock screen. 10:47 A.M. The same contact. The hearts. Officer Patel didn't react at first. He just pulled the pages closer and read. My red folder tab was the only color in that room. Renee pointed with one finger, calm and precise. "These transfers are weekly. Formation date is August 17th. She did not sign. The LLC uses her address." Officer Patel's gaze stayed on the signature block. "You're saying someone forged this?" "Yes," I said, and my voice came out steadier than I expected, "and used my name to move money." He slid the papers back into a neat stack, like he respected the order. "Do you have the phone involved?" I hesitated. The SIM sleeve was in my cardigan pocket. The label CRH scratched softly against my skin. Renee answered for me. "We have a physical item connected to the account. A friend." I pulled the SIM sleeve out and set it on the counter ledge, right under the glass. It looked small and harmless, like a gift card. Officer Patel leaned forward. "What's the PIN?" I didn't have to think. 1047. His eyebrows lifted, just slightly. He wrote it down anyway. Renee kept her voice clipped. We're not asking you to arrest anyone today. We're documenting a report. She's concerned about retaliation. That word hit my ribs. Officer Patel nodded and slid a form through the slot. Fill this out. Full name. Address. Relationship to the suspect. Relationship. The word tasted like metal. I picked up the pen chained to the counter and wrote Laura M. Hart in block letters. My hand didn't shake until I reached relationship. I wrote spouse. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. Renee saw my face shift. Don't look, she murmured. I didn't. I focused on the pen moving, the sound of ink on paper, the way the chain tugged when I lifted my hand too far. When I slid the form back, Officer Patel looked at it once and then asked, Does your husband have access to your accounts? Yes, I said. He's on the joint. He pays the phone bill. And the LLC, did you ever discuss opening a company? No. Officer Patel typed into his computer, keys clicking. His face stayed neutral, but his shoulders squared a little, like the situation had weight now. Renee's tone sharpened. We also have a witness statement available, a recorded message. End quote. Officer Patel glanced up. From who? I said her name out loud for the first time in public. Carmen Hollis. The delivery guy near the metal detector looked over. So did the woman with the paper cup. Names travel fast in places like this. Officer Patel didn't repeat it. He just typed again. My phone buzzed twice more. Then a third time. I couldn't help it. I pulled it out and looked. 3 missed calls from my husband. One text, all caps. Where are you? Under it, another. Don't do this. I felt my jaw tighten. Rage tried to climb my throat. I forced it down with breath. Renee leaned closer, voice low. Do you feel safe going home tonight? I looked at the manila folder, the red tab, the ink, the numbers. No, I said quietly. Officer Patel pushed a small slip of paper through the slot. This is your incident number. Keep it. I took it. The paper was warm from the printer. Edges crisp. Incident. 1947. Officer Patel's eyes stayed on his screen as he spoke again, slower this time. Ma'am, he said, your husband's name just flagged in our system. Incident Hashonanin to 847 sat in my sweaty palm. Officer Patel's eyes stayed on his screen, but his shoulders had changed. He wasn't just listening anymore. He was deciding what to do next. Renee stood beside me with her arms folded, chin slightly lifted. She looked calm in a way that made other people calm down, too. What do you mean, flagged? I asked. Officer Patel didn't answer right away. He clicked twice. Then he said, Ma'am, your husband has an active warrant request tied to a financial case. My mouth went dry. A warrant request? He glanced up for the first time. Financial crimes, county level. Renee leaned closer to the glass. On what basis? Patel's fingers kept moving. Multiple reports, similar pattern, LLCs, identity use. My stomach turned hard. Similar pattern meant this wasn't just me. At 7:12 p.m., the lobby doors hissed open and shut. A man in a hoodie walked in, glanced at the metal detector, and left again. The TV kept playing the weather. Nobody in the room knew my life was cracking open in real time. I counted my breaths under my tongue. 4 in, 4 out. Renee's voice stayed crisp. Do you need additional documentation from my client right now? Patel lifted a hand. One moment. Every finded. He picked up the desk phone and dialed, eyes still on the screen. The line clicked. He spoke quietly, and all I caught was one name, Alvarez, and one phrase, spouse present. Then my own phone vibrated again. I didn't want to look. I looked anyway. A text from my husband. I'm coming there. Renee saw it and didn't flinch. Good, she said softly. Witnesses matter. The words made my skin prickle. Patel hung up and slid my papers into a new stack, squaring the edges like he respected them. Stay here, he said. Do not engage him. My jaw tightened. He's going to come in and tell you I'm unstable. Patel's face didn't change. Ma'am, paper has a better memory than people. Renee tapped the red folder tab through the slot, just once. We'll let the documents talk. At 7:19, the lobby doors opened again, harder this time. Cold air rushed in. My husband walked in like he owned the floor. Clean jacket, phone in his hand, eyes scanning until he found me at the window. His face brightened into that practiced smile. "There you are," he said, loud enough for the delivery guy to look up. "Laura, what are you doing?" He turned to Officer Patel and spoke before anyone invited him. "My wife is grieving. She's confused. She's been—" Renee cut in, sharp. "Sir, stop. This is a police report." My husband's smile twitched. "Who are you?" "Counsel," Renee said, and slid her bar card back under the glass like a blade. He laughed, thin. "She calls her cousin, and now it's a crisis." He leaned toward me, voice dropping into that familiar control. "Give me the folder. We'll go home." I kept my hands still. I didn't clutch. I didn't plead. I slid the manila folder forward so Patel could see the red tab clearly, like I was placing a piece on a board. My husband's eyes flicked to it, then to the SIM sleeve resting on the counter ledge. He froze for half a second. "What is that?" he asked, and his voice went tight. Patel spoke calmly. "Sir, step back from the counter." My husband ignored him and looked at me. "Laura, don't do this." I watched his phone glow in his hand, lighting his knuckles blue. I imagined the funeral again, the ring slicing through prayer, and I kept breathing. 4 in, 4 out. Blue lights painted the glass like moving water. A squad car rolled up outside the lobby windows, then another. The light washed across the waiting room, faces delivery guy, mascara woman, the teenagers turning them into witnesses. My husband turned his head slightly, just enough to see the flash. His smile fell off him like it never belonged. 2 officers walked in. One of them nodded to Patel, then looked straight at my husband. "Mr. Hart?" the taller officer asked. My husband straightened. "Yes." "What is this about?" The officer held out a paper, crisp and official. "We need you to come with us." "Dead it." My husband's laugh came out wrong. "This is ridiculous. My wife is—" "Sir," the officer said, firmer. "Turn around." My husband's eyes cut to me, hot and pleading at the same time. "Laura, tell them." I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just watched as the officer took his wrist. The click of cuffs was small, but it filled the room. My husband jerked once. "You can't—" Renee's voice stayed even. "You should stop talking," the delivery guy whispered. "Damn," under his breath. The mascara woman covered her mouth. One of the teenagers lifted his phone, then remembered the sign and lowered it. Patel slid my incident slip back through the slot, then added a second paper on top, fresh, warm from the printer. I read the bold line once, then again. Warrant service financial fraud. Identity misuse. My husband was guided toward the doors. Blue light followed him out like a stain. He twisted his head at the threshold, eyes locked on mine, voice low enough that only I could hear it. "This isn't over," he said. And then Officer Patel's screen pinged again, and he murmured one name that made my stomach drop. "Carmen Hollis is here." Carmen Hollis stood under the "No Cell Phones" sign. She looked smaller than I'd imagined from the hearts on the screen. Late 30s, maybe. Dark hair pulled back too tight, a canvas tote clutched to her chest like a shield. Her eyes found mine, then dropped to the manila folder under my arm. The red tab stuck out like a tongue. "I didn't know," she said, and her voice cracked on the last word. Renee stepped half a pace forward. "You're here to give a statement." Carmen nodded fast. "Yes, I brought." She opened the tote with shaking fingers and pulled out a stamped envelope. Same emboss, same law firm bite to it. Hollis and Green, Pell LC. My stomach turned. "That's your lawyer?" Carmen flinched. "It was supposed to be mine. He paid them." "Of course he did. Control loves receipts." Officer Patel waved us toward a side room off the lobby. Beige walls, 2 plastic chairs, a metal table bolted down. The air smelled like copier toner and disinfectant. I set the folder on the table and smoothed the red tab with my thumb. 4 breaths in, 4 out. Carmen sat with her knees pressed together, hands twisting a tissue. "He told me you wanted this," she said. "He said you needed a clean place for money. He said you were unstable." Renee's eyes sharpened. "Say the words he used." Carmen swallowed. "He said you'd accuse him of cheating if you got anxious." Her face tightened. "He said you'd destroy him if you ever found out." My jaw locked. Nina's patio. His laugh. This is why people don't trust her. Renee slid a blank form toward Carmen. "Write what you told her in the audio. Dates if you have them. It is no Spariot is round. Carmen nodded and started writing, the pen scratching hard. I watched her hand shake on the downstrokes. Officer Patel returned with a fresh packet and set it beside my incident slip. Victim information, he said, and a contact for financial crimes. I took the packet. The paper was crisp. My palms were damp. My phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look. I did anyway. Marcy, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Jordan, he told us you were imagining things. I feel sick. Mr. Dorsey, if you need a witness, call me. I stared at the texts until the words stopped swimming. It wasn't comfort. It was correction. Public, quiet, and late. The same people who watched me flinch were watching him fall. Renee leaned close, voice low. Where are you sleeping tonight? I pictured my kitchen table corner, the smell of vanilla candle, his footsteps on the stairs, the way he'd said, "You'll regret it." Not my house, I said. Renee nodded like she'd expected that. Nina's, or a hotel. Somewhere he can't walk in. Carmen looked up from her form, eyes wet. He has keys to everything, she whispered. He keeps copies. My throat tightened. Of course he did. Officer Patel checked something on his screen, then handed Renee a small printout. She read it once, then her face went still. What? I asked. Renee turned the paper so I could see. At the top was a court header and a single line underneath, black and official. Hartvo. Hart. Temporary protective order. Hearing 8:30 a.m. My name sat on the line below it. Respondent. I stared until my eyes burned. He filed this? Renee's voice stayed calm, but it sharpened at the edges. He tried. Probably earlier today. Same play as the patio. Paint you unstable. Carmen's pen stopped. Her face went pale. He said he had a backup plan. Renee folded the printout once and slid it into my folder. You're not going to that hearing alone, she said. I nodded, but my chest felt packed with gravel. Officer Patel opened the side room door. Ma'am, he said, we'll call you tomorrow morning with next steps. Tomorrow morning? Courtroom. My name on paper. Renee walked me back into the lobby. The fluorescent lights still buzzed. The TV still played weather. People still waited with paper cups and tired faces, like nothing in the world had changed. I tucked the folder under my arm tighter, red tab pressed into my ribs. I counted my breaths all the way to the exit. Outside, the air was colder. My car sat under a streetlight, pale and alone. I opened the driver's door and slid in, hands shaking for the first time all night. My phone buzzed once more. A new notification banner filled the screen, bold and unavoidable. Hearing notice served 8:30 a.m., courtroom 2. See, I didn't sleep. I just counted breaths in the dark. Nina's guest room smelled like clean sheets and lavender detergent. I lay on my back with my hands folded over my stomach, listening to the house settle. A refrigerator hum, a distant dog bark. My phone stayed face down on the nightstand like it might bite. At 6:03 a.m., Renee texted, Court at 8:30, meet 8:05. I got up and pulled on the same black pants from yesterday. My eyes looked flat in Nina's bathroom mirror. I rinsed my face with cold water until my skin stung. On the kitchen counter, Nina had left a travel mug and a sticky note. Take the front spot. Don't talk to him. I didn't answer the note. I just wrapped both hands around the mug. The coffee was too hot. That helped. By 7:46, I was in my car under a gray sky. The manila folder sat on the passenger seat, red tab facing me. The SIM sleeve was tucked behind it, plastic edge pressing into paper like it belonged there. I drove with the radio off, watching the clock change minute by minute. Each red light felt personal. At the courthouse, the parking garage smelled like exhaust and damp concrete. I fed the pay station and got a thin ticket, curling at the edges. I slid it into the folder pocket without thinking, like everything important lived behind that red tab now. Renee met me in the hallway outside courtroom 2C. Her blazer was pressed, her hair was pinned back tight. She handed me a bottle of water and didn't ask how I was doing. Breathe, she said. I did. 4 counts, 4 out. The red folder tab felt like a handle on my own name. We stood near a bench where people waited with manila folders and tired faces. A man in work boots argued quietly with someone on speakerphone. A woman rocked a stroller with one foot, Everyone kept glancing at the double doors like they might open into judgment. My phone buzzed once. A bank notification. Account restricted, contact branch. I didn't open it. Not yet. I just felt the vibration fade. At 8:27, the doors opened. We filed in. The courtroom air was cold and dry, like paper. My husband wasn't at the petitioner's table. A public defender I'd never seen flipped through a file and avoided my eyes. Carmen sat 2 rows back in a wrinkled blouse, hands clenched around a tissue. When she saw me, she looked down hard. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The sound of chairs scraping made my skin prickle. The clerk called the case. My name out loud. My husband's name out loud. Hart v. Hart. The words felt wrong in a room this quiet. The judge looked over his glasses. Petitioner present? The public defender cleared his throat. Your Honor, Mr. Hart is in custody. He cannot appear today. The room shifted. A small collective inhale. Not pity, not sympathy. Attention. Renee stood. Your Honor, we request dismissal. This filing is retaliatory. The judge's gaze moved to her, then to me. On what basis? Renee slid the incident report number onto the bench rail like she was placing a brick. Police incident 19-847. Identity misuse. Financial fraud. Documentation attached. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She handed up the LLC registry printout. My name as managing member. The forged signature. Then, the bank statements with the transfers highlighted. Then Carmen's written statement. Signed and dated. The judge read without expression, page after page. The courtroom went still in a way that reminded me of the chapel. The same silence, different meaning. The public defender tried once. Your Honor, my client. The judge lifted a hand. I have enough. He looked at me again, steady. Miss Hart, do you feel safe with contact from the petitioner? My mouth went dry. I touched the edge of the folder with my fingertips under the table. No, I said. Renee didn't flinch. Carmen's tissue tore softly behind me. The judge nodded once and spoke in a tone that sounded like a door closing. The petitioner's request is dismissed. A temporary no-contact order is granted in favor of Miss Hart pending further review. The clerk's pen moved fast. The sound of it was oddly comforting. I didn't win with words. I won with paper. Outside the courtroom, the hallway buzzed with low voices. Jordan stood near a vending machine, eyes red-rimmed, holding a coffee like he'd forgotten to drink it. Mr. Dorsey stood beside him, hands clasped, watching like he wanted to apologize without asking permission. Jordan didn't come close. He just nodded once, small and ashamed. Renee walked me to the exit doors. You did what you needed to do, she said. I didn't answer. I didn't trust my voice not to break into something messy. In the parking garage, I sat in my car and didn't start it. I turned my phone off. Fully off. The screen went black, and the silence that followed felt like space I could finally breathe inside. I opened the manila folder one last time. I slid the courthouse ticket into a pocket. I pressed the red tab down flat, smoothing it until it lay clean. Then I closed the folder with both hands and set it on the passenger seat like it belonged there. 4 breaths in, 4 out. I put the key in the ignition and drove away, steady and quiet, without looking back.